What the hell is the UFC 318 main card? UFC 318 is one of the worst pay-per-view cards I've ever seen. I was watching 317 and they showed the 318 main card, and they'll show you the upcoming main card and then they'll show the prelims. They were showing the main card and I genuinely thought it was the prelims. I was excited. It looked like an above average prelims. But then I found out it was the main card. So let's just go through the card. The main event is Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3. I just don't see what this fight means. Now, it should be fireworks. This fight can't be boring. It's impossible for this fight to be boring. But what does it mean for either one of them? It's Dustin Poirier's last UFC fight, and he's already up 2-0 on Max Holloway. It seems that he's going to retire either way, whether he wins or loses. But who knows, maybe he wins and gets another title shot and he just comes back for one more try. But where does that leave Max? Like I said, he's already down 2-0 to Dustin. Losing this fight would just result in him being down 3-0 to another fighter, and this fighter just now retires. I think the hope is that Max gets this win, and now has wins over Gaethje and Poirier in his last two fights at lightweight. And this fight, like I said earlier, is going to be fireworks. Has serious potential for fight of the year, but how excited can you really get in the weeks leading up to it when it feels that there's not much at stake? You would imagine that for Dustin's last fight, and him being in the main event, in a fight that does not involve a title, that they would stack the card underneath him. So let's take a look at the rest of the card. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull is the co-main event of the pay-per-view. Yes, I'm not joking. I just saw Pitbull come over from Bellator, get a fight with Yair Rodriguez, do absolutely nothing, and now he's in a co-main against Dan Ige. Dan Ige versus Pitbull wouldn't even be a great fight night main event. But now it's a co-main event for a pay-per-view? Well, looking at some of the fight nights coming up, I guess it would be fine as a headliner for an Apex main event, but Pitbull lost a lot of his appeal in his debut. A lot of these Bellator guys like Pitbull and Patchy Mix have severely underperformed in their debuts and is taken away from their hype. The feature fight is Atiba Gauthier versus Robert Valentin. Are we being serious? I like Gauthier as a prospect, but how is this main card worthy? How is this a feature fight? I think the hope is to show off a prospect and he gets some spectacular knockout, but you don't have to be on the pay-per-view of a main card. You can put this on the prelims. People will watch. You'll still get attention on all your socials when you post a crazy knockout. You don't have to put somebody who's a prospect who's not even fighting a ranked opponent, who's not even fighting a known opponent, because you want to show him off. You don't have to do that yet. We then got Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov, which should be a good fight. But does every fight I have named so far not feel like the final fight on the prelims, or maybe the opener on a main card? And then opening the main card is Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. This fight's going to be good. Both of these guys are always in scraps. But this feels like it should be on a crowded fight night. This fight should be happening in Nashville on the undercard of Lewis versus Teixeira. Every fight that I've named so far after the main event could have been useful on that Nashville card. Now the prelims of this card actually look good. It really does feel like we're just going to be watching prolonged prelims until the main event happens. Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. It's a fight between two ranked middleweights, but it's on the prelims, and I'm not even mad at it. I don't think a single person expects this fight to be entertaining. The last time I saw Vettori was in the Apex against Roman Dolidze, and after that performance, he probably should have been left there. Keep him on the Apex. Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira is also on the prelims, and I am excited for this fight. If Oliveira wins, he should get a pretty big jump up in competition, and I want to see how he handles it. Then we have Ikram Alaskira versus Bruno Ferreira. Once again, should be an exciting fight. They got the prelims right. They did. But they forgot to make a main card. They just created an extended prelims. The early prelims are pretty good too, with Neil Magny opening the pay-per-view, which, at least he's a known name, even though his fights aren't very entertaining. We also have Islam Dulatov making his debut. I know it seems that UFC fans have been complaining a lot recently, but I think it's justified. 2025 has been a very disappointing year. It was supposed to be a slow start and then start picking up, but it just hasn't begun to pick up. And I'm not the guy that expects stacked pay-per-views in terms of name value on every card. I'm not expecting UFC 299 or 300 every card, but can we just get some good cards? It feels with how big the UFC roster is, there should not be this many disappointing cards, especially main card. I feel that UFC fans could just easily reshuffle some of these matchups and just change their placement and maybe make some different matchups to make the cards appear much better. I don't know if the UFC is out of touch or if Dana White is out of touch, which he most likely is with his focus on promoting Canelo versus Crawford, Power Slap, or whatever else he's doing, but some of these matchups and their placements just doesn't make sense. I don't think this is a difficult fix either, but they would rather just give us main cards like this. Also, I don't care if this card has the craziest finishes. It doesn't change the fact that this is a bad main card. I don't care if Gautier's slam knocks out Valentin, whether Michael Johnson and Zell Huber put on a fight of the year type of performance, or if Kopylov gets the best knockout of the year. None of that matters to me. It does not change my opinion on the fact that some of these fights should be on the prelims or in front of a crowded fight night. Main cards that have no stakes attached to them feel lazy and low effort from the UFC. And I get it, because I'm still going to watch it. I'm going to be watching Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber with full attention, but I will have zero excitement in the build-up to this fight card. So I do hope that the UFC begins promoting their fighters and putting on pay-per-view worthy events, their priority again, but they just may be too big to care. No competition, and people like me who will watch no matter what, are probably the reason why we will continue to get a low-quality product. During the pandemic, the UFC had motivation and a desire to put on events and gain some new fans with no other sports going on. And they achieved that. But with low effort like this, they will probably plateau, when that shouldn't be the case. The UFC has so much more room to grow, but a better product is needed.